We are what? We are who? We are what? Vibrant. We are who? 50 plus. Hi, welcome to Gray Lives on the Rise. I am your host, Professor Jamila Franklin, and we are coming to you from Oyende Enterprises, being sponsored by Jamila Sense, which is our product line of aromatherapy products that helps heal the mind, body, and soul. And we are bringing to you Alamaj's rebirthing program, as well as Jamila Sense and a host of wonderful programs that will help heal your body, heal your soul, and heal your mind. 50 plus people, we are here to stay. Gray Lives on the Rise. We are what? We are who? We are vibrant, and we are here to stay. Join us for our wonderful episodes. Thank you, and continue to look for our episodes weekly, being brought to you again from Oyende Enterprises and Jamila Sense. See you soon. Everyone, welcome again to another event with Gray Lives on the Rise. See my shirt? Yeah, Gray Lives on the Rise. And we have the wonderful, incredible Reverend Ronald Gittens with us today. Brooklyn born and bred of Caribbean roots, Reverend Rodney sees the world as a God-centered environment. He believes in saying yes, which is an acronym for Youthfully Embracing Spirit, to new opportunities, to sharing messages of love, hope, and oneness. That life is good, that we are abundantly supported, and that each one of us has the power to achieve our desires. Reverend Rodney, or Reverend Rod as he's fondly called, is the founder and senior minister of One Love Center for Spiritual Living. He has also served as the featured weekly speaker in midweek and Sunday celebration services at New Thought / Religious Science, Unity and Spiritual Centers coast to coast. Rodney gets to serve as a member of the CSL Visioning Team, CSL Awards Committee, and as one of the founding members and planning committee member and programming co-chair for PAD-NTG, which is the acronym for People of African Descent New Thought Group. Locally, Reverend Rod is blessed to live clean and serene for over 35 consecutive years. Amazing. Is requested to speak at 12-step meetings and also serves as an advisory board member for Brooklyn Recovery Center in Bed-Stuy, an offshoot community service center of Phoenix House. Who he is and what makes him a successful minister is that he recognizes that he is needed to add minister, I like that, with his brand of love, education, including providing financial literacy, leadership, management, compassion, sincerity, integrity, playfulness, service, and healing. Reverend Rod, as a devout possibilitarian, which is taking off from the word possibility, I like that, knows this is vital with his growing spiritual awareness and is in alignment with his purposes on this planet. He states he is grateful to be fully available to serve other ones of the one in many ways, to assist in spiritually empowering lives and strengthening communities. Welcome, Reverend Rodney, or Reverend Rod. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you, Jamila. I can't wait to hear from your fantastic guests. What an introduction.
Yeah, yeah. It was
Great. I'm
amazing.
honored to be here. Listen, I'm honored to be 50 plus. So,
I
you
know,
know,
right?
yes, that took a while to get here. I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you have such an illustrious background. I'm really, really impressed with it. So let's talk about Reverend Rod. You are of Caribbean ancestry, and so your parents are originally from where?
Well, my mother is from St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands, and my
Hmm.
dad was born here in Brooklyn, New York, which I still reside. And his father's from Barbados, his mother's from St. Kitts. And it's interesting because growing up, we really didn't have much information on our heritage.
Mm,
And that became like kind of a quest to answer those questions like, where do we come from? Yes, we're Caribbean, West Indian. Um, and it just led to now having family reunions on like both sides of the family, and we just keep meeting more and more family, and in
yeah,
all kind of different ways. Just in our daily business, we bump into cousins, and through uh, conversation. And I'm one to strike up a conversation with people,
yeah,
with anybody. It's just kind of like my nature, and my sisters. I have two sisters, and we just keep finding more family members, and it just adds to, the legacy that was set before us, and how we get to continue it with our progeny, with those who come after us, because it's
mm-hmm,
important to
mm-hmm,
especially in this country of the United States. It's very easy to feel disjointed, to feel
yeah,
separate from our history,
yeah,
especially people of African descent. So it really is important. So yeah, growing up in Brooklyn, New York, of Caribbean descent, heritage, it of course wasn't without its difficulties finding a way to fit in, and I can't say I fit in very easily. I felt like an outcast. I felt like, oh, I'm on this on my own, and uh, kind of shy, and I want to just kind of slide through life, no problems, no issues. Just let me, just get through this. And so of course that created issues, especially the ones I was trying to avoid, because I didn't know how those things work. The more you try to avoid something, the more it gets to show up in your life. It's a lesson.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And a disguised blessing. However,
yeah,
of course, I didn't get to know that until, I started getting gray.
yeah, yeah. But I think that's very, very true. And I think that because we encounter different kinds of experiences which seem to be problematic and traumatic at the time, when we look back, those were pruning experiences to prepare us for the things that were yet to come. So let's talk about how you what propelled you to go into the ministry.
Well, it's interesting because there really is a belief of things in life or our lives being just like ordained. There are things that
Mm-hmm.
it's just meant to happen. Whether you turn left or whether you turn right, we're like still on the path.
Yeah,
Some people call it destiny. Uh,
yeah,
and there's no way of going against it because we don't have anything to compare it against.
yeah.
Regardless of which way you turn, there you are.
Mm-hmm.
And well, you were destined to be right where you are. Now, as a child growing up in church, uh, and I remember one of the first ministers I remember, he said something to me that I had totally forgot about for many, many years, saying, "Oh, well, yeah, you're going to be a minister," and I thought he was joking. A lot of us kids were inserted into the Sunday program. We were
Mm-hmm.
we were like, okay, we're going to read from the pulpit. We'll do different activities, and that I'm grateful kept us busy. As a matter of fact, most of us those kids ended up being in some ministry or another. Uh,
Mm.
and I did not think that that was in my cards. I did not think that was my destiny. As a matter of fact, I did whatever I could to not do that. I stopped
Yeah.
going to church as early as I could get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
And my life just seemed to, I was choosing to create a life that was anything but so-called holy or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
righteous or anything of that nature. And I never really felt that I was qualified to be on that path. Uh, I remember in Sunday school, they said, draw a picture of God, and I had a blank paper, and everybody laughed at me like, you don't know what God looks like. And I'm like, okay, well, so be it.
Mm-hmm.
and,
Mm-hmm.
and so I never thought that I was on this kind of path. Now, uh, of course, looking back, I started seeing a pattern. One of the patterns was people just wanted to talk to me, strangers. I could be
Mm-hmm.
on the bus or the train, or just people would just start talking to me, and a lot of times just laying their problems on me. And here I am as a kid, like, why are these people talking to me? I don't know. So I listened, and I turned out to be a good listener.
Mm-hmm. And this was what age did this start to happen?
Yeah.
What age?
Say it again.
At what age did
Oh,
it start to happen?
um, really started recognizing it probably at about 10 or 11, uh,
Oh, okay.
maybe a little, I mean, earlier, but I didn't pay any attention to it.
Yeah.
Where just people would just talk to me. And, but when it really started having more of an impact, when it was bothering me, was as a preteen and as a teenager. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and so I loved libraries, and I ended up getting a job in the library. And my section was like the psychology and the arts section. So I started reading
Mm-hmm.
psychology books, and I wanted to get it idea, like figure out, gee, why is this happening to me? You And I got to learn about myself and other people, and that kind of started to prepare me on this path.
Mm.
Um, also, yeah.
But people were seeing the inner light within you. That's what
Oh,
was happening because we don't see it, but people are magnetized by this invisible um, string and it's drawing them to you. It's like a moth to a flame. They be just drawn to your energy because it's just very peaceful. I'm experiencing you as very peaceful and calm and like was part of your email, serene. And they were experiencing that and they were just being drawn, you know, magically to you because they were picking up on the energy in your field.
I agree. That is quite true, and I recognize that as well. And uh, and also there have been other instances where just going through life. I mean, yeah, I was called like a goody two shoes, and I just felt like I liked the path of peace. That
Mhm,
just seemed to resonate more for me than
mhm,
strife and conflict and all of that, and just finding that I would end up being a peacemaker. If there's a conflict, if there's a fight, I would be the one to somehow I'm here saying stop. you, you
mhm,
know, uh, there's no need for that, and I learned different, better techniques of doing that over the years.
mhm,
And again, I was at a church, a New Thought church, uh, and I was the one of the uh, board members who, and my job, we didn't have a minister, was to take care of the ecclesiastical duties, meaning I would
mhm,
bring speakers in and I would handle all of the workshops and all that stuff. And so one of the speakers, who was a good friend of mine, after a big anniversary, was talking with my mom, who had attended, and he told her, I mean, he said to me that she told him, I always knew he was going to be a minister. Now, that's the first time I've ever heard of it, and I wasn't hadn't taken the classes or done anything for her in my mind, to say something like that. So I thought that was very interesting. And then it's that energy started building up and speeding up, and people would just call me Reverend Rodney. I would go on a date, and the person would ask me, "Are you a minister?" Uh, I'm like, I didn't say the word God. I didn't do anything, but like as you mentioned, that true nature of who we are precedes us. It goes around the corner, down the block, and it brings to us that which we know to be, that we get to see. And
Yeah,
yeah, so
it does. It does. And I think it's kind of, in a way, predestined.
mm,
And as you did, people sometimes attempt to run away from their calling,
oh yeah,
and then some permanently run away. But I think most yield and submit to it, even though it may not have been something that they had desired before. And like you said, being a young male, black male, the last thing you want to be called is a holy man when you're a child,
yeah,
because people don't take you seriously. They're like, okay, this person can't hang with us because he has these values that are really religious, and we're children. We're not trying to do that. We're trying to have fun.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So what? So let's go on this journey. You have been involved with different church organizations, and how did you get to New Thought? Because was that part of your family's history? New Thought churches?
That's a great question. No, it wasn't. However, I can remember my earliest um, interaction with something New Thought, and it was a magazine at a doctor's office.
Mm,
And I remembered it because it was different. And they also had the Reader's Digest.
mm-hmm.
And these magazines were about the same size. I always used to pick up the Reader's Digest to look for the jokes, and the riddles, and I didn't want to read those stories. And so
Yeah.
I picked up the magazine and I look at it. I'm like, oh, what is this? I couldn't find any jokes in there, and I realized it was a different magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And then fast forward, when I got to a New Thought Center and I saw the magazine, I'm like, it just brought that memory. It was a
Mm-hmm.
physical, and it was like in my cells. I'm like, this is that
Yeah.
magazine I saw way back when. And so that was like, I must have been probably about 8 years old or so. Um, and throughout my life, there have been little introductions into New Thought centers, like Unity Church and
Mm,
independent churches. Johnny Coleman, who was a minister, had moved from Brooklyn to Chicago, and when I had lived in Chicago. When I was about 20 years old, uh,
mm,
for a work study program from college, and one of my coworkers invited me to her church. She wanted me to meet a nice woman. She said, "Oh, well, come to my church." And I went, and it happened to be a New Thought church. And they had, talking about the New Thought principles and the spiritual law. And so that was another introduction. And it just seemed that different parts of my life, people were bringing this New Thought idea to me, which I
mm-hmm.
appreciated because I didn't really feel comfortable with Christian churches. I tried Buddhism, and uh, I looked into Hinduism. I looked into other religions,
Mm,
and nothing just seemed to resonate for me. I liked a lot of what they spoke about. What I didn't
mm-hmm.
like was the dogma associated with it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what kind of kept me away of having to do what they say, and I don't even understand what you're saying. Just do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Do it
so, yeah,
justice.
I ran actually. I ran probably hard. How they say looking for love in all the wrong places.
Mm-hmm.
And really I was looking for how to love myself in all the
Right.
wrong places instead of going within. I didn't know that.
Right.
So
Right.
I used everything I could outside of myself, trying to people please, be like other people, uh, uh, using substances that I thought were going to give me some other identity, uh, uh,
Mm.
or make me comfortable with the identity that I had that I didn't particularly like or didn't understand. And so over that time, as you mentioned, it was predestined that bit by bit, uh, there were instances and information that was coming into my life that
Mm-hmm.
I did my best not to pay attention, but the real me was always there,
Mm-hmm.
and that could not be denied.
And that's the thing too, when we're doing all this external soul searching, looking for something to fill that emptiness within us. And then we go all the way. I remember something as a child that Yeshua, that people call Jesus, but his real name was Yeshua,
Mhm.
said, I went all the way around the world to find what I was looking for was already within me. So people are doing all of this stuff. I'm feeding, overeating, doing all these things, overworking, indulging in excessive drugs and sex and whatever to run away from themselves. And then when they crash, they find out that everything that they were seeking was always within them, was always within them. So you've done work with this. So you went to college in Chicago and then you left and went to ministerial school?
Well, there's quite a nice gap in there. Actually, I went to school in Ohio. I went to Wilberforce University,
Oh,
the
okay.
the first historically black college, and
Mhm.
I went there. And again, I ran into other. I had an instructor who would bring in different speakers to one of our classes, and there was a person who was uh, in New Thought, and
Mm,
so I was able to get this broader understanding of the spirituality in different religions. It
mhm,
made it much easier for me also to understand about the Bible in a healthier way,
mhm,
in a more compatible way, because we're focused on the spiritual principles. And so, um, I went to school in Ohio. I went to Chicago for a work study program, and so I was
mhm,
in and out of Chicago for a few years. However, nothing stuck with me when it came to ministry. Uh,
mm,
and actually, the school I went to uh, was a AME school,
mm,
and
mhm,
uh, and then there was a seminary close by, and I loved the school. I loved my school. However, when I got hanging out with a bunch of ministers who were wilder than I was, I'm like, I don't want anything to do with ministry. Uh, However, I still knew that there was something deeper within all of that, and that whole path, me trying to run in one direction only had me running back towards myself
mhm,
in the long run. And it was a rather long run. Uh, so I would say that I would consider myself a spiritual person, and I know
mhm.
a lot of people who say that, because we'd rather not associate with an organized religion, uh,
Right,
and and because a lot of times there isn't that understanding. It's just like be indoctrinated, do this, do that, and
right.
be happy, and that just had not worked for me. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so actually. It's interesting because I went to school in Ohio. I had made some friends. One of my best friends lived in a small town in Yellow Springs, Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
where Antioch College is, and had some other claims to fame there. However, I stayed in contact with one of my friends, became the best man at his wedding. Now, I went to a convention not too far from there, and years later, so I came to visit him because it was close by.
Mm-hmm.
And he and his wife said, "Hey, let's go out to dinner." And they wanted to have a date for me. And so the date that wound up being with, uh, happened to attend a New Thought Center at the Church of Religious Science in Dayton, Ohio, and she gave me
Mm,
all this information. So I go on a blind date and I get downloaded with all of this spiritual New Thought information, which just kind of blew my mind, and I realized that this is for me. And
mhm,
I received tapes and a magazine and and so I knew that I had arrived. This is the place. Now, I didn't expect that I was going to be a minister or anything like that.
mhm,
I just felt like this works with my soul,
mhm,
and this is compatible with who I am. And yeah, and so I stayed. I found a center in New York. And it's funny because I didn't go to the church center right away. I had all this information. I was listening to it all the time and reading the one magazine, uh, as though I'm never going to get another one. I just kept that one. I didn't look for any others. However, something happened. I got in a short amount of time. I kept getting rear-ended. I'm driving and I get rear-ended. Somebody
Wow.
hit me from behind. Happened 3 times. And so the third time, something said, why don't you go to that church? I looked, no, I picked up the magazine, I opened it up, and I saw something I hadn't seen before. It was a directory of churches. I'm like, I never saw
Mhm,
that before. I had that magazine for a while. And so I went to a church that was there, and I started going. Uh, I never stopped going. Uh, and it's interesting because you never know what's going to inspire us.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
But it seemed like you got the calling, a physical shakeup, but
yes.
we're ended the third time because when things come in threes, that's when they usually get our attention. So by
Mhm.
you being re-ended, you got to download the spiritual intuitive voice saying, why don't you go to this church? And you kind of, you were teetering and you kind of, not fully into doing it like that, but that was a wake-up call. It's like, okay, something is jarring me, literally jarring me to get my attention.
Yeah.
And so you heeded the call. And that's wonderful. So is anyone in your family? So fast forward, is there anyone in your family that's into New Thought?
I'd say not direct. Well, I have one sister who watches. Actually, a friend of mine who has a center, um, and so they're open to it. You know, they've been to my center. They've been to another center, but yeah, no, not to the degree that I am. No.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, so you are the way shower in your family to show them a different way, which is really great. So how did you get involved with the recovery movement?
Well, the main thing that made a difference for me, well, first of all, I was formally introduced, I'd say I was formally introduced to New Thought by going to like outpatient therapy. One of our um, members of an outpatient group in for recovery, he was going to a Unity church, and there was a minister there called Eric Butterworth, who is
Yeah.
yeah. So he was the minister there, and so he would say, "Hey, why don't you guys come on Sunday?" And I would go, and I didn't go very often. Uh, so that was kind of like my formal introduction, even though I didn't really kind of get it at the time, but I
Mm-hmm,
liked it because what made a difference is that it's spiritual principle and
mm-hmm,
12 steps. I don't care which, if it's Al-Anon or AA, NA, or OA, or CA, doesn't matter. They're all based on spiritual principle.
mm-hmm,
And when I finally understood or heard that spiritual principles are never in conflict, that meant the world to me. That meant that I can get teachings from all these different religions, all these different spiritual organizations, the 12 steps, and and I can benefit from them because they don't conflict. Love is love. The principle of joy and freedom and forgiveness doesn't matter. There, it's all across the board, and that just made me feel so at home and welcome in my own skin, and then finding community that embrace it as well.
Mhm.
And so the 12 step community, I mean, listen, I'm clean and serene for 35 years. Yeah,
What
half my life.
what was your addiction?
Say it again.
But what was your addiction?
More.
More.
Well, whether it's alcohol or other substances, whether
Hmm.
it doesn't matter. I mean, whether it's smoking, or whether it's
Hmm.
marijuana, or cocaine, or whatever. I mean, I avoided injecting anything into my body, and I had reached a point where enough was enough,
Hmm.
and it was literally it was pretty much die or die. It was
Hmm.
no more do. Uh,
Hmm.
and I had an epiphany. I had a divine intervention that took me to a detox that allowed me to get the help, and I surrendered, which is a big
Hmm.
spiritual principle. Surrender is always number one. No matter what you think, in order to create change, we have to surrender. We have
Hmm.
to make room for something greater to show up, even if
Hmm.
you don't know what it is. And so after surrender comes faith, because I have to have faith in something, because faith in the previous faith I had wasn't working. The drugs, and alcohol is a drug as well.
Yeah.
All of that was not making my life better. And so the faith that I had that it would make my life better certainly wasn't doing me any good. So I had
Hmm.
to have a positive faith in positive change for my life, and that's what I got from the 12 steps, and and because it's in alignment with the spiritual principles in any religion. All religions have a spiritual foundation, and then on top of that, you know, uh, the other parts of religion are built on top of that. Yeah.
Hmm. That is so true. So the things that led you to the addiction was some of the things like most people with anything, any addiction, food addiction, work addiction, whatever the addiction is attempting to fill the hole inside
Sure.
with something external. And you learned that that wasn't working for you. And what's really good is that you had the foundation laid as early as your early childhood, 8 or whatever, and people confiding in you and trusting you. And so there were signs along the way. But we tend to have these negative images of what it means to be when you surrender to the higher calling, because traditionally you can't do anything. It's like everything you do is a sin. And
Yeah.
when you're young, you're like, oh my gosh, I can barely breathe, and that's a sin. So so what people do is run, and they tend to suppress the calling because they're young and they desire to have a life. And so that causes people, young people especially, to walk away from the church because of all of the negative and pejorative language that's used. So you followed the calling that you had when you were young, and by your being introduced to New Thought by the person, because each person was kind of like a disciple for you, the person that they had set you up with to date led you to New Thought, and then because of that, your life started to change because it resonated more with you, as opposed to evangelical Christianity, which is good, which is good. So let's talk about your ministry now and the people that you uh, basically have within your ministry. And uh, I'm assuming it's a brick and mortar kind of ministry as opposed to just being strictly online.
Well, we started off brick and mortar until the pandemic, and now so we basically just meet online.
Oh,
And
okay.
the Sunday celebration is online. However, my center, One Love, the Center for Spiritual Living, we're a member
Mm-hmm.
of Centers for Spiritual Living, which was formerly called Church of Religious Science.
Mm-hmm.
And the founder, Ernest Holmes. And I'll say that, well, the name One Love came from what we call visioning, the life visioning process, uh,
Mm-hmm.
formulated by Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith, who's at Augusta.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so we use that visioning process. We came up with the name of the center, and we started meeting since 2012. And
Mm-hmm.
basically, we're meeting to provide spiritual literacy. Everyone is spiritual. Most people don't see themselves as it. I didn't. I tried to run from it, and hide from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was successful for a little while, but that light, you can't hide that light forever.
Yeah.
And so my job is to allow people the opportunity to see their light. Like earlier, you mentioned like a moth to flame. And that
Mm-hmm.
happens to all of us. Uh, there's somebody who sees our light and is
Yes.
attracted by it, just like a moth, or other bugs.
Mm-hmm.
and however, what I say is that the moth and these other bugs, they don't see their own light. They don't have to
Right.
come to me. You got your own. Just keep
Right.
it. However, that's okay. I have a light. You see my light. Guess what? I can help you to uncover your own light, and that's really what it is that we do. And I know you do the same thing.
Mm. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, what is the composition of the people in your congregation basically? Are they uh, mostly women? Is it a mix? What's the age demographic? Because you're now, like you said, basically virtual.
hmm Well, it's pretty much wide open. It's not as many as before. The pandemic took quite a toll as far as our membership and attendees.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Basically, it's gray lives. most, most of us are 50 plus.
Mm-hmm.
There are younger folks who I know who's watching because we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook Live, so we can see some of the demographic. I mean, I know who some of the people are, and if I dig, I can see their information on Facebook and know. But we reach out to all. Um, and so it's difficult to get numbers because of the way that we meet. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people watch the recordings. Like I hope people watch this recording. They don't have to watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, watch the recordings for forever. But yeah, uh, it's pretty wide. It's not just New York anymore, so it's
Mm-hmm.
all over the world. Yeah, so it's interesting to find especially when the people find us for the first time, and we're just what I was looking for,
Mm-hmm.
and seekers. We're seeking that peace within that you had mentioned. They want to fill that seemingly empty space, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and fill it up with something that's meaningful, like love and joy
Yeah.
and happiness and
Yeah.
and understanding. These are the things that make a difference that made a difference for me that
Yeah.
I saw other people doing and like, oh, okay, yeah, I would like to do that one day. Uh, I would like to. I mean, I didn't expect to be a minister. I just thought I was going to study because I want to learn. I want to learn about spiritual principles. I want to have a better life. I want to have an easygoing life,
Mm-hmm.
because things happen. How do I get through it? I mean, the 12 steps are great and wonderful. But my thing is, I said to myself, I want to experience spiritual principles straight, no chaser.
Yeah.
Well, what is love? What is peace? What is joy? What are these things without having to go through addiction, without having to go through trials and tribulations. What's the value? What's the meaning?
Yeah.
And that brought me to uh, find out, the formal introductions to New Thought.
With that, Ernest Holmes, you said, was the founder of it, and then you also went to Chicago and studied a little under Dr. Johnny Coleman,
Mm-hmm.
who is resting now in heaven.
Yes.
I was studying under Dr. Barbara King.
In Atlanta, right? At Hillside.
Yeah, at Hillside. I taught at her school for about 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And she and Johnny Coleman basically schooled her.
Right.
So we were among two great women. We were under their guidance and their tutelage because both of those women were just amazing and they were powerhouses.
Yeah.
And so what do you think the charge is now? Because the young people now are questioning everything, the government, the religion, and everything. So what can be the pull, something that can entice them to come to New Thought, to have it not perceived as fundamentalist, evangelical kind of church? Because a lot of them are running from that.
That's a great question. Number one, most of our New Thought environment, New Thought centers, New Thought churches, and I know for sure religious science, we say, don't leave your religion at the door. Bring it in with you. And what we do is we help to provide a better understanding of the spiritual principles that are in your religion. So you get a better understanding of your religion. And that way you can make it, more compatible, to your life. It answers more of the whys and the hows, and what works in religion, without the dogma, because the dogma is there for a reason as well. However, now you get to ask the questions. You get to have a framework for what your religion really stood for, really stands for, and then you get to deal with the other stuff, if you like, because you don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. There's going to be something good in all of the religions, and so we don't tell people to, just toss that aside, because I'd say formally, not formally, when it all comes down to it, New Thought is more of a philosophy than a religion. It's just a
So
philosophy.
someone can be from different religions like Judaism or whatever, and New Thought is just having them go deeper into their own belief system.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to explore it. Oh, okay.
So I wanted to also add that, and this is for anybody, regardless of age. And like you had asked for a title, and the title that I came up with is "As It Is in Heaven." And when you started talking during this podcast, and you was like, you downloaded a dream, it came into your mind, you're just minding your own business, and all of a sudden something comes into you. Uh, well, that's what I like to let people know about. It's like, be open to that. It's like your dreams matter,
Yeah.
and catch the dream. Don't dismiss it. Be open to it. And yes, it's part of the Bible quote, or prayer, the Lord's prayer. As it is in heaven, is on earth as it in heaven. On
Yeah.
earth is, yes, the manifestation of that heavenly dream that comes through us. So I think the important thing is to know that, yes, no matter how old you are, you have something within your power, within your control. Because, and then we get to teach what a lot of religions teach, but it's kind of very disguised, that the Creator is no different than you. Yeah, you are made from the Creator.
Yeah.
So therefore, that power is within you as well. No, you are
Yeah.
not the creator, but you have creative abilities. You speak
Yes.
your word. You get that divine idea from heaven within, however you consider heaven to be, but on earth, you get to bring it into reality, bring it into manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's living the dream. So you get to have a dream and then you get to live the dream. And the universe supports you in all that you do in bringing about your dream. And you can have as many dreams as you want. And the universe is like, okay, well, you ready for that? Sure, let's do it. There's a law. And the law is a law because it works. And it works not just for one, it works for all. And so
Mm-hmm.
when we get people to realize that, we get to teach that, and people can grasp that, it gives them at least a sense of hope, at least a sense of, uh, okay, personal responsibility, which a lot of people run from.
Yes, yes,
They're
they
like,
do.
oh no, God did it, or the devil did it, or what.
Yes, yes, they do. Before, because we're kind of running out of time, Reverend
Okay.
Rodney, I want people to get your contact information.
All right. Sure. You can. Um, we are on Facebook Live. I have to bring up the address because I don't remember exactly how it goes. Uh,
While, while you're doing that, I'm just going to summarize some things for people when you're looking that up.
yeah.
So,
So
Reverend Rodney Gittens is an amazing New Thought CSL minister. And it used to be called the Religious Science. And one of the famous people, two of the famous people were Eric Butterworth and then Louise Hay. People know them. And so that's the train of thought. And what it is that it's more, as he said, a philosophy than it is a quote unquote traditional religion. And the philosophy is that you are made in the image of the Most High God and all things are possible, and that you are not doomed to hell or a horrible sinner because you're made in the image of the Most High God. So how can that be the reality? Whereas in traditional Christianity, that's what the language is, that's the energy of it. And people who don't believe that, they're not new, but there are other avenues that they can pursue to have a closer connection to the Most High. And Centers for Spiritual Living is one of the avenues because they don't condemn you, they don't judge you, they don't have you think that because you've done something, you've had a life of whatever, of drugs, of just whatever, just living your life, that you're still made in the image of the Most High God. You can always come back, and they would be supportive.
absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing. And thank you for bringing that up. We recognize the splendor of that glorious spirit that is in each and every one. As it's like when we say namaste to one another. It's the presence of the divine in me recognizes the presence of the divine in you.
Mm-hmm.
And when we do that, it can absolutely erase any need for conflict or strife or or so, there's no recognizing that there's only really one power. you know
Yes, yes,
Hate is not a power, and things like that. No, where are you putting your energy? So I
yeah.
put my information into the chat, my contact
Okay,
information.
okay. It's not available. Okay, let me just see.
Yeah, it has links as well. So my home center is One Love Center for Spiritual Living. It's onelovecenter.org.
Mm-hmm. Okay, one. So ONELOVE center.org,
Yes,
and they can get in touch with you by using that website.
yes. And you can
Okay.
even send an email. That would be the best way.
Okay,
Yes,
so the email address is the same, onelovecenter.org.
yes. No, email is onelove@onelovecenter.org.
Okay, okay. So I have it here and for the audience to see, and hopefully once we in the broadcast, the podcast, it will still be there. Hopefully it will capture that. So what would you like to leave as a statement for everyone, a closing statement in
All right. My
1
closing
minute.
statement
1
is,
minute.
oh, okay, is that you are divine,
Mm,
that you are love, that regardless what anybody has told you, contrary to that, you are divine, you are love, that the presence of God lives its life in, through, and as you. Doesn't mean you're a puppet. That means you are an individualized expression of God, an individualized expression of love. 100%, regardless of how much of it you believe, doesn't matter. You are it. Now, I love acronyms, and I didn't get into that. That might be a whole nother time. IT, that's my word for God. IT, infinite truth. Infinite
mm,
truth is that God is all there is, all there ever was, all there ever shall be. And guess what? You're it. You are that presence. You are that. And
mm,
so, yes, you're that it factor. We get to go through life. Yes, I am it,
mm,
and know that it means that whatever it is that you desire is available for you. So remember to dream. And I have an acronym for dream. It's called, where is it? I have a couple of them, but I wanted to use one in particular. To dream is uh, that you are that you get to dream. You get to divinely realize, evolve, and abundantly manifest. And
mm.
didn't that happen from your dream? I know it happened with you because look
Yeah.
what you
Oh,
created
yeah.
from that dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
One more
Yeah. I
time,
like
it's
that.
divinely realize,
Mm-hmm.
evolve,
Mm-hmm.
and abundantly manifest.
Mm,
Oh, okay. That is dream.
mm.
That's what happens when you pay attention and live your dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're manifesting from the divine. Well, we thank you so very much, Reverend Rodney Gittens, and for your spending the time to give us your wonderful insights about how we are a divine manifestation of the Most High, and that we don't have to come to God, quote unquote, perfect. We come as we are, and we are accepted, and we have different things in our past, but our actions don't define who we are. Our heart and our souls do. So thank you for bringing that to us with the One Love Ministry. Your One Love, the title of your ministry says it all, because it's just one love. That's all there is. And as you say, for the title of this podcast, as it is in heaven,
Yes.
so it is here. But thank you so much. Okay. And we appreciate you. And for those of you, don't forget, okay, Great Lives on the Rise. So hit
Right.
subscribe and like, and we will see you next time.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Gray Lives on the Rise, being brought to you by Jamila Sense, which is the product line of Oyende Enterprises. Jamila Sense is a 100% natural aromatherapy line that heals the mind, body, and soul. This episode of Gray Lives on the Rise was intended to uplift you, to inspire you, and to motivate you. Please tell all of your friends, family members, and anyone you know who's 50 plus, who's living a vibrant life and interested in doing more and enjoying life even to its fullest. So thank you, and please subscribe, like, and comment on this video and all our videos. Thank you, and until next time, until our next podcast, namaste and be well.